Alright, you are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So there's a little rivalry brewing in the house at the moment between me and my father-in-law. He doesn't know there's a rivalry. He wouldn't suspect there's a rivalry, but there is. We're always trying to one-up each other with achievements. So my father-in-law, I'm not exactly sure what he is. He does a lot of things. He doesn't actually look like he's doing much, but he seems to be doing a lot of shit. He fucking translated the Constitution of India from English to Kannada. He was the first person ever to do it. He did that in his spare time last year. But to look at him, he doesn't look like he's doing a lot. I would say optically, it looks like I'm doing a hell of a lot more. But he seems to get a lot of shit done. So what is he? He's hard to pin down. So he practices law. So he's a lawyer. But he's not really a lawyer. He's a human rights activist. He's also a journalist. He's written books and shit like that. He's achieved some shit. So previously, he had fought for the working rights of the eunuchs in India, which are like the lady boys. They had never been able to work before. No one would hire them. They usually just stand on the corners of streets and take blessings, and you give them a little bit of change. That was their main gig. But he fought for their working rights. Now they have working rights. He was also the chairman of the Backwards Class Commission for the state. The poor people. You don't need to know much about the caste system to know the lower castes are the poor people. And I mean poor people. I mean real fucking poor people. So he's the chairman for the state, helping them out. So today there was a high court judgment, and the judgment was made based on a report my father-in-law made recommending that the eunuchs, the prostitutes, the transsexuals in India should be allocated 1% of reservation. Now that means nothing to you, so let me explain. In India, they have a reservation system. It basically reserves positions in like government jobs and universities and schools and all this shit for the lower caste people. Because to get positions in any of those sectors, you need to fucking bribe your way in. So without the reservation system, the backwards castes and the lower castes just have no way of entering the system. They have no financial way to get a foothold and better themselves. So India brought in a reservation system that holds, I think, don't quote me on this, I think it's like 30% of positions go to the backwards classes or the lower class. And then there's variability between them as well. Certain castes get certain allocations. It's fucking very complex. Anyway, it's a system that's needed in India. Otherwise, the poor are staying poor for fucking ever. So what today's High Court judgment means is eunuchs and the trannies and prostitutes now get reservation into all these things as well, 1%, which sounds about right. That would be 1% of the population, probably a little bit less. And it's the first time in India's history reservation has been given to the eunuchs and the trannies and the prostitutes and all those sorts. So it's really tangibly going to change the lives of like millions of people. And it was all on his work. And so today I was like, congratulations, that's amazing. He's like, thank you very much, David. What have you been up to today? I'm like, I got some fucking sick footage of a monkey on my latest driving vlog. I think it might crack the 1,000 hits. It's embarrassing. That's what it is. It's fucking embarrassing. What did I do yesterday? I complained about being fat because I ate too much on a holiday. It's not quite sending transsexuals to university for the first time in India's history. It's not quite that, but it's not nothing either. So everyone's really happy. My father-in-law's over the moon because he legitimately cares. He is someone that actually cares. Like, he's not doing it for himself. He's actually trying to help the people. And he legitimately is trying to help the people. It's a weird thing to see. Because you don't get paid for that shit. You don't get money for helping the poorest people. So when you're helping the poorest people, you got to have other motives than money. It's actually quite inspiring. Anyway, let's move on to something that's almost equally as inspiring as Reservation for Prostitutes. It is Boyle Breaks History. Now, some people might say, oh, Boyle doesn't give a fuck about Boyle Breaks History anymore. He's not putting any effort in at all. He's just dialing it in. He's taking the fucking piss now. And they are completely unsubstantiated false claims, because this week's topic is a topic that is very close to my heart and probably very close to all your hearts. It is the history of chopsticks. Yeah. I hope my father-in-law doesn't ask me what I did tonight. Now, the history of chopsticks is fascinating. Evidence of the first chopsticks were discovered in China 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. What is evidence of chopsticks? It's just two sticks sitting next to a fossilized rat carcass from 5,000 years ago. And the archaeologists are just like, fuck, the Chinese love the choppies. So the Chinese decided to ditch the knife and fork when the population boomed in China back in the day. And when the population boomed, they had to conserve fuel for something. And so they started cutting food into smaller and smaller pieces to conserve the fuel. I swear to God, I YouTubed one fucking history of chopsticks for this, and basically it was a fully formed Boyle Breaks history. I didn't even need to add anything. It was all unsubstantiated bullshit. What fuel did they have to conserve? Trees. That was the main fuel. And what are you making chopsticks out of? Fucking trees. But we'll run with it. It's Boyle Breaks history. It doesn't fucking matter. So they chopped their fucking dim sims into really small pieces. And the best way to pick up small pieces of food like bat testicle is with chopsticks. Have you ever tried to spear a bat testicle with one of the points of a fork? It's almost impossible. So you need a chopstick for that, or a straw. You can suck up a few bat testicles with a straw. It wasn't just the population boom and cutting food into smaller and smaller pieces. It was also Confucius. Confucius was a vegetarian. I would like to know how much of this is fact. So Confucius was a vegetarian, and he thought that using sharp utensils at the dinner table would remind people of the slaughterhouses. Or it might just remind people that they're so fucking poor they've got nothing to cut and pick up with a fork. So the cunt I am blindly following for this research reckons it's Confucius who influenced the chopsticks. Confucius says, no fork, no fork, no knife. No knife, no fork. So as chopsticks spread throughout Asia, chopsticks took on many different characteristics. This is verbatim, I copied this. As chopsticks spread throughout Asia, chopsticks took on many, many different characteristics. They came in different shapes and sizes and designs. China used a long chopstick with a blunt end to compensate for small dicks. The Japanese use a shorter chopstick with a sharp end so they can stab Chinese people with it. Koreans use a medium chopstick. See the variety? It's just so different all around the world. They use a medium-sized chopstick that could be wood, metallic, or plastic. And the Vietnamese use the index fingers of fallen comrades. So when you're using chopsticks, you're actually using 50 different muscles. So it's kind of like exercising. That's what they said. They said it's like exercising. And they actually said if you eat with chopsticks, you eat smaller portions and you don't eat as much, which kind of checks out because Asians have pretty decent rigs and all they're doing is eating rice and fucking noodles. And obviously the odd bat nut. But yeah, that seems to be all there is to the chopstick. An exciting modern utensil. Anyway, that's it for tonight. If you're enjoying the podcast, give it a share around with your friends, and I'll see ya the fuck Later.